Hello, everybody. My name is Doug Opichka, and I am with Plaid, and I would like to welcome you to the third annual Delta Sigma Pi President's Academy. Before I invite Tricia Smith, your current Grand President, to kick things off, I would just like to take a moment and make sure that we are all oriented with the platform that we are on. For this program, we are using a program called HowSpace. That's what you've all logged into. We have it all organized for you for the entire week. All large group sessions will be done utilizing the large group item that you're in right now, that menu. As we progress through the program, you will see additional options appear. They're all numbered. For example, this is large group number 1. When we return later for our second large group of the evening, it will appear in the menu and it will be large group number 2. In between the large groups, you will have small group sessions where you and there are roughly 12 people per small group, and you should see a small group menu item at the top as well. Under that menu item, there should be only one listed. They are all named for the Greek letters. So when we tell you later on, okay, it's time for you to proceed to your small groups, go ahead, go to the small group, click on yours, and then once you're in there, click the live button so that you launch the live chat. And once you're in the live chat, you'll be able to communicate with everybody in your group. While we are in the large group, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that this is a broadcast only through YouTube Live. So while you will be able to see and hear all of us, unfortunately, we are not able to see or hear you. That is why we've added a couple of comment boxes below the live stream. The comment box on the left is for general questions or comments. So throughout the program, if you have any comments or questions, by all means, add them there. So later on, when we have a Q&A session for tonight's keynote, for example, that will be where you will add your questions. The box on the right that's labeled urgent is if you do have something urgently come up. If you have a technical issue or something of that nature, we will try our best to resolve that for you as quickly as humanly possible. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Delta Sigma Pi's current Grand President, Tricia Smith. Trish, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Doug, and welcome everyone to the award-winning and third annual Delta Sigma Pi President's Academy. I'm so excited to be here with you this weekend. Well, to say that 2020 was a year to remember would be an understatement. Last year not only taught us how to pivot in an instant, but how to be resilient, how to be patient, and how to look at everything we do through a new lens. As your chapters transition from traditional in-person meetings and events to virtual meetings and get-togethers, your members use the virtual environment to enhance their learning and knowledge through more online training and webinars, and your chapters have the opportunity to reach members far past your own campus. Now, we will feel the effects of COVID-19 personally, professionally, in our chapters, and throughout our organization for years to come. And although we are working through a pandemic, it's important to recognize that our organization implemented a new pledge education program within all our chapters this semester. We enhanced our risk management policy to better support our members and created a task force to create a better, more applicable individual disciplinary policy to support our members' needs in today's collegiate environment. Delta Sigma Pi and our members also focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion concerns within our organization and addressing opportunities for change and growth. As brothers, we recognize the significance of these changes. Ensuring a supportive and inclusive environment for all organizational members, including pledges and prospective members, is extremely important to Delta Sigma Pi. In order to continue to direct our own future as an organization, we must continuously evaluate our processes and ensure that we are creating an environment that defines us as Delta Sigs. And that is why this weekend has been specifically geared to provide you with an amazing experience of bonding with your peers, and is this especially designed event to provide your leadership potential in a way that has immediate benefits to you personally, to the chapters you lead, and to the fraternity as a whole, because you are the future of our organization. And Delta Sigma Pi's President's Academy will provide you with tangible skills that serve as the foundation for success in your business, civic, and personal lives. I want to give a special thank you to our Professional Development Committee for their preparation for the weekend, and most especially to our Professional Development Chair, Jillian Gardner, and to our Associate Executive Director of Education and Events, Shanda Gray, for leading this charge. I want to share with you a little history that brought us here today as well. In August 2016, the Board of Directors adopted a set of strategic priorities to further a higher standard for Delta Sigma Pi. One of those priorities is focused on education for our members to stand out on their campus and in their community to develop their leadership ability. We knew improvement of our chapter leaders will lead to smoother chapter operations, an enhanced brand on campus and in the community, and a reduction in member attrition and organizational risk. And with a stronger set of collegiate chapter officers working hand in hand with chapter advisors, fraternity volunteers, and staff, we will strengthen the fraternity overall. And in this time of constant transition, conflict, and change, that leadership is needed now more than it ever was before. As you can see from the agenda, we have a very robust and full weekend planned for you, including 2 new presenters who are joining us this weekend, Brother Piotr Jakubowski with a keynote this evening, and Brother Jeff Zick to discuss leading teams tomorrow. This weekend has been built to support both your fraternal and professional development. And with so many outside forces pulling at our attention, I challenge you to take this time and focus on you. As leaders of your chapter, this weekend we will provide you with corporate level training that gives you a unique opportunity to participate in an immersive program with your peers to guide your personal development and strengthen your relationships within your chapter. So think about your goals for the weekend, what you want to take back to your chapter, how you can use what you learn to improve operations and your own professional development. So you'll also find we have some ground rules to follow this weekend. These ground rules were developed to help everyone here maximize their experience. So some essentials that I want you to keep in mind. First, put your video on in your small groups. And to be present, listen actively and attentively and unplug from those other distractions. Always assume positive intent. Please respect confidentiality. And be sure to ask for clarification if you're confused or if you just need assistance. Let's be mindful of interrupting one another and not monopolizing discussions, but let's also challenge one another and do so respectfully. Let's critique ideas and not people. We'll avoid put downs, even the funny ones. And if you are offended by anything said during any discussion this weekend, let's acknowledge it immediately. This is an amazing and unique opportunity that has been given to you. I encourage everyone to try and get the most out of this weekend. I encourage you to be present. And yes, that includes unplugging from social media. Make sure that you're in a quiet space so that those other distractions don't disturb you. There's a saying, to be early is on time, to be on time is late, to be late is unacceptable. We do have breaks built throughout the event. If you need to step away for a moment, please do so. If you need to stand and stretch, do so. But please try not to disrupt the experience of your fellow participants by being late. In addition, if you need something or have an emergency, please talk to your small group facilitator or contact Shanda Gray so that we can assist you. Attendance at all sessions throughout the weekend is required. Missed sessions could affect CMP credit. And finally, only the registered attendee is able to attend this weekend. You cannot swap out with other members of your chapter. So, before we get started, I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to our central office staff, our national leaders, and volunteers who are with you this weekend and who will serve as our facilitators. So please be sure to give shout outs in the chat as we give these introductions. From our central office staff, we have our Executive Director, Bill Schilling, Chief Operating Officer, Jeremy Levine, Associate Executive Director of Education and Events, Shanda Gray, our Senior Director of Membership Engagement, Heather Troyer, Senior Director of Membership Growth and Expansion, Dale Clark, our Associate Director of Membership, Tyler Havens, Educational Leadership Consultant, Jasmine Flores, Educational Leadership Consultant, Chelsea Fix, and Educational Leadership Consultant, Haley Spellman. From our Board of Directors, including myself, we've got Anuka Ebe, our past Grand President, Jody Sho, Vice President of Finance, Dan Collins, Northeastern Provincial Vice President, Corey Stopka, North Central Provincial Vice President, Carrie Burns, Southern Provincial Vice President, Mark Burnett, South Central Provincial Vice President, and Crystal Justice, Western Provincial Vice President. And our two national COIs from the Board of Directors joining us, 2019 National Collegian of the Year, Kristen Wilhelm, and 2020 National Collegian of the Year, Cody Vasquez. And of course, Bill Schilling, who serves not only as the Executive Director of Staff, but in that role also serves on our Board of Directors. Additional national leaders and volunteers who have joined us this weekend include our National Organizational Development Chair, Lisa Brown, our National Professional Development Chair, Jillian Gardner, past Grand President and Trustee Emeriti, Kathy Janke, Leadership Foundation Trustee Emeriti and Golden Council member, Katie Magoo, our 2018 National Collegian of the Year and Golden Council member, Travis Broadbeck, Gateway Regional Vice President, Matt Hudson, South Central Province Provincial Development Chair, Emily Hudson, and North Central Provincial Awards Chair and District Director, Joe Shaver. And you already had an opportunity to meet our Plaid facilitator for this weekend, Doug Opichka, who also serves as VP and CFO of Plaid. So what's coming up tonight? Doug gave a great highlight of what we're going to experience. After our keynote with Piotr, there will be a Q&A led by Jillian Gardner. And after that, we'll receive additional instruction from Doug, and then we'll break into our small groups. And don't worry, there are breaks built in throughout tonight and the rest of the weekend. So I encourage you, have fun, meet new people. There's awesome opportunities for networking within this application as well. And then of course, through our small groups. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our keynote. Piotr Jakubowski. Born and raised in Indonesia, Piotr is a communications leader dedicated to combining data and authentic stories in building brands. His career has taken him from digital strategy through marketing, organizational development, all the way to building iconic brands loved by millions of people. A brother from Drake University Alpha Iota chapter, Piotr started his career in advertising and worked across multiple industries as a strategist at Leo Burnett, Chicago and Jakarta, and market lead at VML Indonesia. Some of his key clients included Danone, Coca-Cola, Prudential, BCA, Philips, and Adidas, plus others. As a CMO of Gojek, he built the brand into a household name while driving a 100+ in-house marketing team across product marketing, strategy, creative media, production, and digital. And in his tenure at the company, the business grew from 20 million to 100 plus million downloads and 5 million to 100 plus million monthly orders across 18 product verticals, all while connecting the brand story to millions of customers in Indonesia and beyond. Currently, Piotr is the founder of We Are Not Machines, a brand advisory firm that focuses on helping companies in Southeast Asia inject data and stories into their communication strategy. So thank you, Brother Piotr, for joining us tonight, and I will now turn the presentation over to you.
Hi, everybody from rainy Singapore. Thank you so much for having me participate as part of the LEAD conference and the President's Academy. Special thanks to Jillian and Shanda for reaching out to me and inviting me to be a part of this. My name is Piotr Jakubowski. I'm a 2008 graduate from Drake University, and today I'm hoping to kind of take you through a little bit of what my career has looked like and see if maybe it could be a little bit of a inspiration to some of you guys who are looking forward at your careers and looking how things are going to be like in the future. So a little bit of a summary overview. I have a Polish passport. I'm a Polish citizen. I was born and raised in Indonesia, in Jakarta, Indonesia, and I came to university in the U.S. to Drake to study advertising and marketing. I had my career set on being in the advertising industry, and I was pretty gung ho on the fact that I was going to be in advertising. Worked at a couple of small agencies, large agencies, but I took a little bit of an audible in the middle of my career and switched over to the startup world, where I became the chief marketing officer of a company called Gojek. Now I'm actually a co-founder and chief growth officer of my own startup, and hopefully the bit of a background and a bit of a story can give you guys an interesting and a little bit of a different point of view. So if you want to get started in the very beginning, if you will. So I was born in Jakarta, Indonesia, because my parents had moved out to the country in the early 80s. For those of you who haven't really heard too much about Indonesia, it's the largest archipelago just north of Australia. There's 17,000 islands. There's 270 million people, effectively making Indonesia the fourth largest country in the world. And there's 900 languages across the country. So it's an incredibly unique and an incredibly diverse place to grow up, particularly as a guest in the country, as a foreigner. So I had the incredible privilege of being able to go to international school, and all of my friends growing up were from different countries, from different backgrounds, from different religions. And not just that, there was also a case of being able to learn the culture from people who were living in the neighborhood, which was an incredible experience in and of itself. So my first time in the U.S. actually was for new student orientation when I was already graduated from high school. And I had only learned about the U.S. from the movies, so you can imagine my excitement when I went to my first party and I got a red Solo cup, and that was really one of the highlights of, hey, this stuff happens in the movies and it's happening to me as well. So that was super fun. One of the things that I really took advantage of from a school perspective is I really wanted to learn as much as possible and take advantage of school as this big possibility to learn and expand my horizons. So I actually completed two degrees. I did a degree in business management from the business school, and then I did a degree in creative copywriting from the journalism school. And what this allowed me to do is to kind of open myself up for both the P&L, the business strategy side, but also the creative side of things. And one of the things that I did take advantage of in school was to intern, and I interned every summer. Interned at McCann Erickson in Indonesia, interned in Japan while I was studying abroad there, and interned in New York at an agency called Saatchi & Saatchi. So really kind of taking advantage of these opportunities. Now, the other thing that I took advantage of was the opportunity to study abroad. And this is kind of funny because I was in effect studying abroad being in the US, so I kind of took a study abroad from my study abroad and spent half a year in Tokyo in Japan. So this was also kind of putting myself out of my comfort zone a little bit because it was not your standard place to go, if you will. But it was an incredible opportunity. After that, in 2008 was when I graduated. And, some of you might remember that it wasn't really the best time at all. The markets weren't doing too well, and there was a bit of an economic crisis going on. And, it kind of made it really tough for people to apply for work, let alone somebody who would also require a work visa to be in the country. So I applied for 200 jobs, and I ended up getting one, and that was actually through a friend of a friend of a friend. So it wasn't necessarily the best start to my career, but this is one of the things that is really important is making sure that my goal was to be in the U.S. and whatever it took for me to get there, I stayed there. Funny anecdote, I actually wasn't able to come to work on my first day of work because as part of being in the U.S., I actually had to leave and come back on a work permit, and because of some visa troubles, I had to go to the embassy in Canada. So I drove to Windsor, and I had to go to Toronto. And from Toronto, I had to call my boss on my very first day of work of my career and tell him that I wasn't going to make it because I was stuck in Canada and I couldn't get back into the United States. So he kind of had a bit of a laugh about it and said, well, that excuse I haven't heard before, and said, you got 2 weeks to show up for work. So, I had to, it was kind of funny because I had to fly all the way back to Indonesia, go to the embassy there, take care of my stuff, fly all the way back to Toronto to go get my car, and then drive back to Chicago. And luckily enough, after 2 weeks, I was able to get back to the office. Being able to start my career in the U.S. was a blessing. Got involved in a lot of different community things. Started playing a lot of soccer, and through kind of getting involved in the community and through playing a lot of soccer, I actually met people at an agency called Leo Burnett. So after about 6 months of playing with them, hanging out, they actually asked me to apply for a job at Leo Burnett, which some of you might know is one of the the top agencies in not just the U.S. but the world. So this kind of opened up my perspective of like, hey, the way through your career and the way through different types of jobs isn't necessarily the standard. Hey, here's my resume and let's go. There's a lot of getting to know people and building relationships as part of that. So I worked at Leo Burnett for a few years. Took the GMAT, applied for my MBA, got rejected from everywhere, and decided that, hey, I really needed something to I really needed something different on my application. So I asked to transfer back to Asia within Leo Burnett. And initially the idea was, hey, let's go back for 2 years, reapply, go get an MBA, and continue to progress in this career. So I did get accepted to move back. There was one catch that was really interesting, but also a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. It was the fact that I had to take a local salary, and a local salary at that time in Jakarta for the position that I was in was $900 a month. So once again, it was kind of weighing this idea of, hey, do I stay in Chicago and try to continue building my career there, or take this risk, go to Indonesia, take a bit of a pay cut. It's going to hurt for a little bit, but the opportunities and the chances to grow are a bit different and potentially even bigger. So I did it. I got on the plane and I went back to Jakarta, and realized that opportunity was actually there to quickly grow through the ranks. So in Chicago, I was an assistant account executive, and the path to a director level, a VP level, was anywhere between 10 and 12 years of working, climbing up the ladder and going through the ranks. And what was going on in Indonesia was, with a lot of hard work, a lot of persistence, a lot of perseverance, you could actually take that 12, 15 years and cut it down to 2 or 3. So, at Leo Burnett itself, within 2 years, I got up to the chance to apply for a director executive position for head of digital, and I got rejected. I got rejected again, and I remember sitting down with the GM and asking him, what is it about me and about what I've done that doesn't allow me to kind of come in and take this position. And the person flat out said, listen, you're too young, right? You got to wait a couple of years in order to do this. So what I did was started working on a couple of things, but in the meantime met somebody who became my mentor and is now an old friend, who owned a different agency, and said, listen, you've got persistence, you've got hard work. Maybe you don't have much experience from a management and from a P&L perspective, but whatever it is you don't know, we'll teach you. So I decided to take that dive, became a general manager of an agency called VML, which is headquartered in Kansas City, and not just became the youngest GM within the VML network globally. Got my hands dirty in the business. So when I was coming in, we had 4 employees. We were doing around $200,000 of revenue, and within 2 years, grew that to 30 employees, $2 million of revenue. And at that point, we were 3 times bigger than the agency or the agency division that I had left during my time at Leo Burnett. So this was a bit of an interesting experience, and one of the things that I really appreciated and really took away from this role was the fact that we managed to not just build a successful business, but we had a 0% turnover rate over 18 months. Which in the advertising world is completely unprecedented. And the reason that we did that was because we tried to build an environment where people actually liked to come into work, and we built an environment where a lot of people felt comfortable with talking about what their needs were when they were, when things weren't going too well for them, when they needed a little bit more time off, etc. And that was truly a magical thing. So to cap off that experience, we became the digital agency of the year in Indonesia. And coming from not existing 2 years before to number one in the country, it was incredible. And I, frankly speaking, I was really gung ho on becoming the best agency person that I could. And speaking with my management, my regional management, I was put kind of on a career path to lead not just the digital, but the entire agency in Indonesia, and then potentially regionally and globally. But at the same time, I got a phone call from a friend of mine that he's building this startup called Gojek, and the startup had already been operating for about a year. And they really wanted somebody to come in as a chief marketing officer in order to build the brand and build the business. So I thought about it for a little bit, and I said, well, I don't really know too much about how to build mobile apps and how to grow that type of a business, but one of the things that I really liked about it was there was a mission behind what the company was doing. Now, Gojek is Indonesia's equivalent of Uber on motorcycles, with food delivery, with payments, with microservices, so kind of like Uber, Postmates, Grubhub, Ticketmaster, Venmo, all in one. And that social impact was something that really kind of spoke to me. So, I decided to join. And once again, there was this situation where, okay, I can go down this, career path, make of advertising. I was making a quite a nice salary. And once again, I decided to take a bit of a pay cut for the opportunity to come in and be a part of this. When we started, Gojek had 300,000 drivers. Or sorry, when I started, Gojek had 300,000 drivers. We were in 10 cities, and we were doing about 400,000 orders a day. Now, fast forward 2 years from there, we managed to grow the business over time to 2 million drivers, 120 cities, and at that point, it was 4 million orders a day of transport, food, et cetera, et cetera. So the interesting thing and the interesting challenge there was that I had a team of 28 at the agency. That immediately ballooned up to 200 at Gojek, and this was kind of a big adjustment. But not just that. The learning curve was a vertical, like I said before. Didn't really know too much about how to talk about apps. I didn't really know too much about the process about building apps, and this was a lot of on the fly, on the go training that. You really just need to have that attitude in order to do it, and that's one of these things that is incredibly important for folks who are going into startups. The key thing and the key attribute of somebody who is successful at a startup is the ability to look at a problem, acknowledge the fact that you don't know how to solve it with what you know today. But put your mind to figuring out how to actually be able to solve it. So over the 2 years there, what we managed to do is we built the brand into the number one on-demand platform in Indonesia. For those of you in marketing, our awareness curve. So the awareness, spontaneous awareness, all the way up to usage was almost a square, because almost everybody in Indonesia knew who we were, and most people who had a phone had tried us at some point in their life. So this was immense, and the social impact component of it was really what in essence spoke to me. And just to kind of give you a perspective about that, we had 100 at that point in time. We had 100 million downloads. There were 2 million drivers. There was 500,000 restaurants that were on the platform with deliveries. So the social impact component was immense. And technology in this case wasn't just changing human behavior; it was transforming people's lives through more accessibility to information and to income. And fundamentally, in non-developed countries, the problems that you work on are geared towards building or growing a middle class through access to payments, logistics, and commerce. So, this kind of experience really opened my eyes to the fact that, I enjoy building products, and I enjoy this idea that, hey, if you find a solution to some type of a problem through technology, you can really drive impact for a very large number of people. So this kind of brings me to where we are, or where I am now. I left Gojek to start a consultancy helping brands and helping businesses work on building their brands and building the stories. But in the meantime, I was doing research as to what is that problem, that big problem that I want to solve and I want to work on and I want to build a business around. And I ended up building doing a lot of research in the environmental space, just because I felt like there's a lot of talk and a lot of discussion going on about climate change, and it's just a big opportunity to take whatever we learned and whatever I learned at Gojek in scaling fast, building a business, building a brand, and getting everybody to try it, and address an environmental problem in that way. So after doing a lot of research, I decided to land on air quality, and there's a variety of reasons for that. The first one is the fact that after kind of going down the rabbit hole of environmental research, I figured out that or found out that air pollution and bad air quality affects 90% of the world's population. Is one of the largest causes of preventable death around the world. There's anywhere from 7 to 9 million people a year die as a result of air pollution and bad air quality. It turns out Jakarta is the 5th most polluted capital city in the world. The greater Jakarta area has a population of around 30 million. There's 100 million people in Indonesia and 400 million people in Southeast Asia that are today affected by air pollution in some way, shape, or form. And once you kind of discover that it affects absolutely everything that in your body, it affects you at every stage of the life cycle. Everything from pregnant women, newborns, infants, toddlers, teenagers, young adults like you, and I think myself as a young adult as well. And all the way up to our parents and grandparents, it affects absolutely everybody. And it's a problem that's only going to get worse over time. So I reconnected with a friend of mine, and we decided, hey, let's give this a shot. So we wanted to build a profitable business, but we want to focus on air quality from a health and wellness perspective. So we launched our app 3 months ago. There's a whole extremely large component about the business that we're building now. And this is something that's incredibly exciting for me, because there's a social impact component, there's a building component, and there's a completely new space. So if you had asked me 2 years ago if I would be doing what I'm doing today, I'd think you're crazy. I'd be like, nah, whatever, air quality, who cares? And this kind of shows the fact that a career path is not necessarily linear. because when you open up your mind to the fact that things can change over time and that it's okay, then all of a sudden the world of opportunity starts opening up a lot more. And this is something that I only had discovered over the last 2 or 3 years, because once again I was gung ho. I was going to be the global president or the global CEO of an agency. That was my dream from even before going to college. So that's something to really consider. So if there's three things that I hope that you could take away from my experience. The first one is patience, persistence, and passion. The 3 Ps. If you, as part of your career, you need to be patient for these things to develop and come into place. But you also need to have persistence in order to get stuff done, in order to make these opportunities happen, and then build that passion around something. So a lot of people talk about passions as like, hey, I've got this hobby, but for me, the way that I look at passion is you have some type of an issue or some type of a task, and you just become completely obsessed about solving it. So air quality, I have taken something that I don't know at all and become completely obsessed about it, to the point where I think I annoy my wife sometimes too, with the amount of time that I talk about it. The second thing is drawing energy from no. You're going to hear no a lot in your future careers. While we were building NAFAS, our air quality platform, we actually heard no from about 30 to 35 VC companies that we spoke to. In fact, there was somebody who was a friend of mine from one of these VCs who said, why are you even doing this? You're crazy. This isn't going to work. That attitude of being to take that type of energy that's coming from other people and turn it into your own fuel really is something that helped me throughout my career, and is something that I really suggest to take a look at. Now, last but not least, the globalized world that we live in opens opportunities anywhere. And now with the internet and with this kind of remote culture that's been pushed on us, your career path is no longer really determined by your location. And this is something that I strongly encourage everybody to take a look at, because there are some incredible places around the world that have business problems to be solved. Whether that's at a large company, whether that's at a startup, whether that's at a local conglomerate, it's all there. You just got to go out and search for it. So I'm going to close for that and open up for any questions after this. I really hope that sharing my experience was inspirational, and there was some lessons that we could get out of it. And this, if you would like to connect on LinkedIn, please feel free to add me, throw questions at me. I'm more than happy to help out. So thank you very, very much for the chance to share my experience and be a part of it. And looking forward to hearing and answering some questions.
Great. That was awesome. That was Piotr joining us from literally the other side of the world with his pre-recorded message. At this time, I'd like to add Jillian Gartner. Hello, Jillian.
Hi, Doug. How are you?
I'm doing great. I see that you have a couple of questions there in the chat, and I think you had a couple of them as well. I've got a couple that I'd like to ask Piotr if we end up having the time. So at this time, let me bring him into the show here. Good morning to you, Piotr.
Good morning. Good morning from Singapore.
Good
Awesome.
morning.
Glad you're able to join us. So I will turn it over to Jillian and let her ask a few questions.
All right. Thank you, Doug. And what a great story, right? I'm Jillian Gardner. I'm your National Professional Development Chair, and I'm super excited because I've known Piotr for probably just over a decade. We went to school at Drake together, and we're obviously in Delta Sig too. So it's my pleasure to lead the Q&A, Piotr. Thanks for joining.
No problem. I'm really excited to be here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And as a marketer, I totally geeked out over your presentation and really how you picked your own career path. And that was truly inspirational. So now we'll dig into some questions from the audience. So the first question is from Jack. His question is, did you attend JIS while living in Jakarta? How did you find the transition from international high school to university in the United States? Jack went to SAS and played in a few competitions there. So excited to hear what you have to say.
That's actually a really great question. So, one of the most challenging parts of the transition was the fact that not only an international school environment, but the greater Jakarta area is 30 million people, and moving from a city of 30 million people to Des Moines, Iowa, which is 100,000, was a little bit of a challenge. So I still remember my first day and getting there and looking up and being like, where's the buildings? One of the things that is important to understand is to keep an open mind in the fact that a lot of people didn't have the experiences and the privileges of being able to go to an international school. So and living in another country, living in places like Southeast Asia, there's a lot of cultural things that are very different that you take for granted. And over time, you just really have to keep an open mind and be very understanding that people haven't had that same experience. So don't think it's don't think it's weird when people look at you and when you say that, hey, I've got 3 maids at home, they think that you're some type of a king, but no, that's not the case. It's just a difference in culture and what things are like. So
that makes a lot of sense. Very, very interesting too. Another question that came in from Ethan: what drove you to accomplish so much at a young age?
I don't know, actually. It was just it was just this kind of drive to succeed. I really enjoyed learning. I think that was kind of the biggest thing. Is for me, it's all a learning experience, and that's kind of when I mentioned the ability to be flexible in your career over the last 2 years. What I've actually realized in hindsight that I really enjoyed learning, and the more I learn, naturally, the more you kind of get done, and the more you can achieve. And it doesn't come with without your pitfalls. I mean, I applied to MBA and I didn't get in. 2 years later in my career, I was managing a group of MIT MBA students. So it was a little bit of a difference. But I think one of the most important things is once again, from a career perspective, keeping an open mind and really taking that time to constantly evolve yourself and continue to learn, and that's really what opens up all of these things.
That's fantastic and great lessons for everybody, for sure. Another question that came in is from Caitlin. So Caitlin asked, at Drake, it seems like you were able to travel a lot with your internship and study abroad opportunities. So what were some of the most important lessons that you learned through traveling?
There's an openness to other cultures that is really key to understand. And then the second thing is an appreciation for these different things. So, I remember in Japan, sometimes for breakfast I stayed with a host family, and sometimes for breakfast we would have local Japanese food. And I remember the first time we had a fish head for breakfast, and I was like, okay. I tried to eat it, but it was not very easy. And later on, I had a conversation with the family and be like, hey, I want to try things, but we have to find the middle ground here. But just making sure that you make these things work for you. Because if you're kind of sit around and wait for things to happen, they just won't. So in my case, I chose Japan because it was pretty unique, pretty different. I'd taken some actually Japanese classes in high school, and I was super interested. And had an incredible experience. Learned a bit of the language, and actually made some lifelong friends. And a lot of the folks that had come to Japan on that experience itself. They were completely new and really open to doing new things. So
that's great, and what a learning! And I can't even imagine like having a fish head for breakfast. That's amazing.
it was just kind of like what, but
yeah. Oh my gosh. Another question from Carrie is, what does your daily life look like? How do you balance what you do with your, mind, body, and time, and what you want to be doing too?
Oh boy. This one is this before Corona or during Corona? Because those are two completely different questions. I'm still working on it, to be perfectly honest. I haven't found the right type of balance because a lot of things change. I've had a nagging sports injury, and it's kind of changed the way I look at health and wellness and things like that. So it really comes down to figuring out what works for you. And finding what works for you. For some people, it's meditation. For some people, there's certain routines that they have. I'm still working on mine, to be perfectly honest, and that's okay. The challenge here is just to make sure that you work on what works for you.
That's great. That's excellent. We'll wrap up with one final question, hopefully an easy one. What book recommendations do you have for young professionals wanting to learn and absorb as much as they can?
Oh boy. One of the ones that I really enjoyed the most, and it kind of prepares you also for a career in future management if you want to, is it's called The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. And this was something really I read it pretty late in my career, and it kind of completely changed my mind about how you look at business. One of the challenges with accelerating through your career a little bit faster is the fact that at the end of the day, experience is still experience, and you miss out on some of these things along the way, which means that you have to make it up in other ways through self-learning, through other experiences. So I think that book in particular had a lot of impact on how I viewed business and management.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And thank you again for taking the time to present to our students. This is so impactful and so great for them to hear your story, and a pleasure to be able to speak with you. And thank you for everything, Piotr. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining today, and I'll drop into the chat to answer some of the other questions as well.
Sounds good.
Good weekend.
That's great. But Piotr, before you leave, I have a quick question for you, since this is my time, and I guess if I'd rather ask a question rather than tell people where they're supposed to go next. Do you have any advice for any of the undergraduates who are maybe considering spending some time overseas, either in terms of an internship or taking a position over there, as opposed to following what I would say is the normal path of staying stateside?
Oh, absolutely do it. It really doesn't matter where you go, because anywhere outside of what you're comfortable with is going to be a new experience. It may be something weird, it may be something different, but the idea here is, we live in a globalized world right now. And whether you like it or not, somewhere along your career, you're going to have to work across cultures, across time zones, with people who were brought up in different types of environments. And the only way to really empathize with that is to put yourself in that situation.
That's great. That's one of the things I probably wish I would have done as an undergraduate or as a younger professional, is done something internationally. So again, I'd like to thank you. I know everyone involved from the Delta Sig side really appreciates you giving of yourself. Now, what time is it for you right now, as you're joining us? Okay, that's not too early. I don't have to feel too bad for you picking up at 9 o'clock in the morning. But
Yeah.
Thank you again so much. And as Piotr said, he's going to dip into the chat on house space, because I know that there were a few more questions that unfortunately we just didn't have time for. And that's always going to be the case with these particular programs. We probably could stay with a live feed of questions for another hour, especially when we have such a great guest like that. With so much experience and such a story to tell. So we are going to be ready to move on to the next section here in a moment. Just want to reiterate a little bit what I said at the very beginning, just to make sure everybody knows what we're doing here and how we're using the tool. The entire program all weekend is going to be done through House Space. All of the large group sessions, like the one we just had, are all going to be through that large group tab at the top of your browser. As additional large groups come up, you will see them added. They're all going to be numbered sequentially. So shortly here, actually number 2 will pop up, which will be the one that'll be coming up a little bit later in the evening. All of your small groups are off the small group section, and you should only have one small group for you. When you go into that small group, just as you rehearsed on the homework tab, you will hit the live, and then you'll join more of a traditional video chat with your facilitator and up to 11 other undergraduate participants who will join you. So that concludes our first session. Our next session is going to be a small group session, which is scheduled to start in 11 minutes. So if you need a bio break or a bottle of water or something of that nature, by all means, you have a couple of moments. Try to jump over there a few minutes early so that you're able to start the video and you're up and running. As soon as everyone's there, the chat will begin. You'll get to meet your small group members and your facilitators. So I look forward to our future sessions. At this time, we are signing off from this large group, and I will see you on the flip side. Thank you so much.